We got a big breaking story. It's actually developing, so by the time you see this, there may have been more developments. But there has been a SWAT team. There's been SWAT team action in New Jersey, in Jersey City, after a couple people with long guns barricaded themselves inside a bodega. Apparently, a cop got shot in the head. I think he's just injured. I think he survived. But we're going to read through this, and there's one big point I got to make, man. I got to tell you, it is particularly difficult to own a firearm in New Jersey. How they brought in long guns, I don't know. I think the left might be calling for like a nationwide thing to stop this, but I tell you what, the laws here are pretty strict, okay? So I don't know if that would be a deterrent in this regard. Somebody's going to get him somehow. Let's read the story. Heavy hail of gunfire rings through New Jersey streets as SWAT team swoops in after male and female active shooters with long guns start shooting spree in a cemetery, then hole up in a bodega for 2 hours, where they strike at least one cop in the head. Excuse me. Hopefully, the officer is okay. Obviously, getting hit in the head, they probably are in the hospital, but I'm hoping they're alive at least. They say at least one police officer has been injured in an ongoing active shooter situation in Jersey City. Gunfire erupted outside the JC Kosher supermarket at 223 Martin Luther King Drive just after 12 p.m. Tuesday, as police officers reported over radio that two suspects armed with long guns had barricaded themselves inside and were shooting at anyone who approached the storefront. The gunshots continued for the next 2 hours, according to witnesses, as a heavy police presence from local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies flocked to the scene. FBI spokeswoman Patty Hartman said that more than one officer had been shot in the standoff. Wow, so it's more than one, which was ongoing as of 2:30 p.m. Hartman said she was not authorized to give any additional information. Authorities are said to have been searching for two suspects, one male and one female, who reportedly arrived in the area in a U-Haul van. Officials have not confirmed the number of shooters or victims. We can see some photos here of the area. You've got a lot of Jersey City police locking the area down. This we can see sheriff as well as some other police coming in with long guns of their own. And I believe, I'm not sure if they have photos of the SWAT. So that, yes, we have SWAT. This is Hudson County Sheriff. I used to live up in North Jersey. I don't anymore. I'm in South Jersey. So they say WABC reported that the shooting incident began at the Bayview Cemetery when at least one shooter opened fire on a police officer, striking them in the shoulder. So that's at least two officers we're hearing now who were hit. The outlet said that the shooter then fled into the bodega and began firing on responding officers as they surrounded the store. NBC4 quoted Hudson County officials as saying that two officers had been shot, one in the head, in an ambush. A senior official briefed on the matter told the outlet that the suspects were believed to have been injured in a shootout. The official said four other people were thought to be inside the bodega, but it wasn't clear whether any of those four were hurt or considered victims or suspects. It looks like we got FBI on scene as well. They say FBI officials here. Medics are seen loading an injured woman into an ambulance on Martin Luther King Drive, so it appears there may be other people who are injured in this. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives responded to the scene, and the New York Police Department also sent emergency services personnel as its counterterrorism monitored the situation. Police blocked off the area while dozens of bystanders stood around the perimeter and filmed the action on their cell phones. Witness Brian Clark told CBS 2, "I got caught in a one-way street with a bunch of cars, and I was wondering why nobody was moving. All of a sudden, I heard it. All the shots started ringing out." Quote, "When I heard it, I see people running. I got out of the car, and I see cops duck down and cops getting out of the way. And I'm wondering why. What the hell? So I get out of my car, and I see it, and I heard it. Pow, 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 pow. Then I realized I was in a shootout. I never heard that many shots in my life. It was like I was in a war zone." Andy Patel works at a liquor store about 3 blocks away from the site of the shooting, told the Associated Press there had been consistent gunfire for at least an hour. "I can hear the gunshots. It's like firecrackers going off. They were shooting like crazy about an hour ago. Then it stopped for like 20 or 30 minutes. The cops were clearing everyone off the streets." We can see some more photos here. It looks like that. So I'm hearing reports now that the schools were locked down. I don't know if they're still locked down as of filming of this video. They say the Sacred Heart School, located across the street from where the shooting took place, was put on lockdown shortly after noon. Snapchat video from inside the school showed students sitting in the hallway and cowering under their desks. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy tweeted that he had been briefed on the unfolding situation. "Our thoughts and prayers are with the men and women of the Jersey City Police Department, especially with the officers shot during the standoff. And with the residents and school children currently under lockdown, Murphy wrote, the Sacred Heart School located across the street was on lockdown. We read that. Snipers were later seen on the roof of the building. Jersey City Board of Education President Sudhad Thomas confirmed that both Lincoln and Snyder High Schools are on lockdown, as well as schools 12, 14, 29, and 41. White House spokesman Hogan Gidley said Donald Trump had been briefed on the shooting and was monitoring it. So right now, this is ongoing. There's probably a lot of developments you might want to look up. There may be things you already know at this point. But I do want to talk about some of the circumstances involving, gun rights and stuff. As my channel is predominantly focused on commentary and opinion and political issues, I wanted to make sure I first went through all of the straight news and, hoping for the best for everybody. I hope these officers are all right. But I want to tell you, man, it is not easy to obtain these weapons in New Jersey. So right now, of course, we're seeing a lot of people on the left start bringing up that, when will we have gun control? When are we going to solve for these problems? But New Jersey has extremely strict gun control. So I actually went and did an interview, I believe for my main channel, with an instructor in New Jersey. And they told me that I believe they said it would take around a month to actually get a weapon. I actually explored this and found that actually, yes, it was quite difficult. So let's talk about these arguments then, right? So they're gonna claim that we need more laws, even though in places like Chicago, in Baltimore, in Jersey, where you already can't get them, you have this kind of crime that you don't see in Texas, but you do see in other places. I think it's fair to point out, I do not believe the weapons are the cause of the crime. I think they make the crime worse. I think everyone can agree with that. But I tell you what, man, in Chicago, for instance, they have heavy laws. People go to Indiana. So here's what I'll do. I'll throw this to you guys right now, and then we'll go on from here. I'll tell you some stories. So one of the arguments from the left is that if we had nationwide laws or complete gun control, then people wouldn't be able to go to, say, Indiana, buy these weapons, and then drive them into places like Jersey City. I honestly don't agree. We know that there are international organizations, legitimate or not, that have weapons, and people want weapons. They will get them. They will make them. We've seen instances, many stories recently about ghost guns, okay? People are you can buy 3D milling machines. People will just make them. We've got 3D printed guns. So I can tell you this, man, I do not think the solution to any of these problems is going to be found in telling people they can't own these things, because I tell you what, I'm preaching to the choir here. The only people who obey the laws are the only people who are going to obey the laws are the people who already did, okay? So when you pass these laws saying, no, you can't be armed, all you're really saying is that the people who don't care about the law in the first place will come out and be armed. You can argue you have tougher penalties and all that stuff, but I just don't see it. So again, let's go back to that main argument where, first, I'm going to say this in good faith. Okay, New Jersey has strict laws, all right? It's difficult enough to go and get a firearm as it is. The argument after that would then likely be, well, they'll get it from a different state where it's easier and bring it here. That argument will never go away. Even if, the surrounding states around New York ban guns and create more gun control, they'll go to a different state. We do it nationwide. You then open up a very dangerous black market because America will not just stop. But now I want to highlight a few of the darker points, okay? With these red flag laws, we have seen numerous stories about people coming to the door, not knowing why police are trying to seize their legally owned firearms, and then bad things happen. A couple stories about people losing their lives because they tell the cops, not going to happen. So I'll tell you this. These laws they've passed, these red flag laws, in an attempt to curtail gun violence, has resulted in more gun violence. And it certainly hasn't stopped what's happening right now in New Jersey. Strangely enough, it's happening in the state that I live in. I find it strange that we had this story in Philadelphia. You had a guy holed up in a building, and now New Jersey. Unfortunately, I think the proposed solutions they've offered so far just are not working, okay? Chicago clearly shows they're not working. I'm not saying we want to hand a gun to every child and say, everybody gets a gun, everybody. But I'm telling you right now, at the very least, the left needs to accept their proposed solutions have not worked thus far. And if this stuff is still ongoing and people are still losing their lives, you can argue we need more of it, but I just don't see it because you haven't controlled for the black markets. You haven't controlled for the fact that, people are going to break the law no matter what. And I think it was something that was said to Beto O'Rourke. They said, how do you convince people to break the law? And he said, people in America follow the law. And they said, you think these people like this are going to obey the law? They're not. no matter what. And I'll tell you right now, you can pass all the laws in the world. They will make them, okay? Keep that in mind. I'm somebody who falls kind of in the middle. I think Yang, has been kind of okay. I think Tulsi goes a little too far on this one. I mentioned that because those are the people I supported. I think, for one, it's a constitutional right. While I lean towards we can probably implement some things that make sense, so far, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll leave it there. Developing information, but as I said, so far what they've proposed has failed. Okay, so stick around. I got a couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.